Hello again. Welcome, dear friends. This is our second class from the new astrology training. And this is also an open class. So I want to make sure that in this class, we will talk about things that will be helpful for people generally. So if you are just getting started with astrology, or maybe you have just heard about this, and you want to understand, like, what are all of those things that people talk about? How do you find them? What do you do with them? Like, what is the meaning? Like, if everything seems very complicated or messy, or there are too many things, you don't know where to start from, this class will help you. So today we will have, I would say, not a simple task, because we will talk about many things. And my goal is to describe to you the bigger picture. So in the future, of course, we will talk about each of those things in details and we will clarify them. But today I want to show you, like, really the big picture and how to kind of like understand how to find things in the chart and what are they related to and what is the logic, where everything comes from. So even if you already know things about astrology, I'm pretty sure you will still find something interesting for yourself as well. Okay, one of the advantages and the specific things about having live classes and kind of like, doing this regularly and as we call this, to do it in a live flow. The advantage is that there is always like a deeper process underneath that, which is kind of like guiding us. And I'm always paying attention to this. So I'm also adapting, the form which I will use for the classes or the information that I want to add. And when we have this approach, it's interesting how miraculously things work. In other words, what happens around us also matters. And I want to show you, before we get to, the actual, like the more detailed stuff we will discuss, I want to share with you something that comes from experience, but I was also thinking about it, so it's a bit strange how it all worked out. Generally about how astrology helps us. In life, there could be many events, many things that happen to us. And while we are in the middle of certain event, we don't necessarily understand the scale or how important it will be long term. Or actually, sometimes it may even be misleading, especially if the event is more intense. We may feel like, oh, then this must be really important and it will have like a long-term impact in my life. And from, let's say, 6 months later, you may realize that, no, not really. This was not really important. Like, you are over it and it no longer has a kind of like reflects your life. And sometimes it could be the opposite. There could be events that you don't necessarily know, how important they are, or they may not seem so big and significant, but from the perspective of time, they may turn out to be life-changing. And we can't find this while we are in the middle of those events. And sometimes, as I said, we may even have the wrong impression. And here, astrology is incredibly helpful. Because let's say that something has happened. You can look at the chart. Here, you need to be able also to use the dynamic methods. And from there, you can understand, is this really that important, or maybe not so much? So a personal share from yesterday. In my sister's house, there was a fire. In the kitchen, something happened while she was cooking. So luckily, everyone is fine. But it has been like a real fire. And my sister lives under, the apartment below me. And I was just coming back home. I was out and I met her. And of course, she was panicking. And after we found out that, everyone is fine, the baby, the dog, like everyone is fine, my next thought was, okay, what is happening in her chart? I need to see, because I wanted to understand, first of all, what has triggered it, but also like the level of significance of this event. And even if you don't understand what I will say now, just accept it for now. In the future, you will understand what is this about. The most important indication in her chart was that the transiting Saturn was exactly on her ascendant. This is not a transit which you can say, oh, there is a danger for fire. No. And as I told you last time, the main purpose of astrology is not to guess the external form. The main purpose of astrology is to understand the deeper meaning underneath the form. So when I looked at this, it first of all becomes clear that yes, this is important and it will have an impact, because this is something that happens once in approximately 29 years in someone's life. And it's a really, really important, I would say, intense energy. And I won't go into analyzing like what this means for her, but generally, to probably, this may trigger some kind of cautiousness and she may reconsider things. And like there could be many, many changes that will affect her personally, because the ascendant represents our individuality, or more like how we interact with the world. So I'm showing you this because this event, yeah, probably we will make fun. Like we are already sending her songs like, Prodigy's Firestarter and Cardigans and Tom Jones Burning Down the House. And, it's already a joke. But, from the perspective of time, okay, something in the kitchen, like you may say that, okay, well, whatever. But when you look at the chart and you see what are transits, progressions, like astrologically, what has happened at this moment, you can understand the depth of the influence. And that's incredibly helpful. So just sharing, as I told you, like when something like this happens, I will share it with you because that's also part of the life process. My point is that astrology can show us things that are not obvious. Something with my voice. Okay. Let's switch more concretely to our main topic today. Even though we haven't talked about this yet, I want to show you the chart for today very, very quickly. If you don't understand all the stuff here, again, don't worry. But if you do understand them, that's also great. Let's see with our internet how things will work. The time when something happens is always showing the potential there. Just like we do this with the birth chart, the time when we were born, but you can do it for absolutely everything else. So this is the chart for right now, the beginning of our class today. It's very helpful to look into those charts, even if it's just for a moment, because they're showing like what is currently happening around us. And if we consider this and kind of like, try to align with this, the work will be much more productive. So the most important here is that the air energy today, especially during the second half of the day, increased significantly. We have the equinox, which is the time of the year when the day and the night are equally long. Happens once during the spring and once during the fall. And today is this day. So in astrology, this is a very special moment. I want to invite you to think about your life, not necessarily right at this moment, but maybe later today or when you are watching the recording. Take a moment and think about what is this in your life that needs more balancing. Because this moment, day equals night, is a great time also to find a different approach to balance something in our life. So think about it. Of course, the most I would say like common thing we need to balance usually is the heart and the mind. But for you, it might be something else. So think about what that might be. It could be like, today is a bit like a window of opportunity. The other thing is that also the moon moved to Gemini, so two air signs. This will support our work because today I don't want to go deeper into one concrete thing. I want to talk about many things, but more like to show you the surface from a big perspective, just so you know, like what are the terms we are using in astrology, why we use those terms, what is their meaning. So it's like, and this is very typical for the air energy, especially for Gemini. It's like a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there, here on the surface. Like it's not about going intensely and deep into one thing and getting to the root. That's not it. It's again, surface level, many things, and more like, it's a bit like having a list. Like, okay, here I have my glass of water, here is my phone, my laptop, here is the curtain, like kind of like listing things, naming them, describing them, and not going really deep into them yet. So this will be, this was my initial idea, and the energy really supports our work for this. So we will probably, cover a lot. We'll see how it goes. So let's get started. For me, it's very important today to be able to describe, to demonstrate to you, like how all of this works. To understand it even on a physical level, like what are we looking at in the sky, and then how it reflects in the charts that we are using. So imagine this, we are on the earth and we look, in our astrology, we always look at things from our perspective. So how they look when you are on the earth, like literally. And if you are looking at the sky and imagine that you can see, physically where are the planets, that's the perspective we are using. We don't look from the perspective of the sun. This is the heliocentric perspective, or the center of the galactic, or whatever. We look here literally as if you are wherever you are, somewhere, concrete place on the earth. And from there, if you look at the sky and imagine that you can see how the sky looks like, that's what we kind of like represent with the chart. Again, I will demonstrate in a moment. I will share my screen again and I will show you in the chart. But again, it's important to understand that this is all like physically very real. So we look from the earth towards the sky. Now, imagine the sky. So we have, do I have something here I don't have something to demonstrate anyway. I will use my phone. So you can see me. Let's say that this is the Earth. Strange Earth, but imagine that this is the Earth. And here is the sky around us, literally. And this is like a circle around us, 360 degrees. This space, like literally the space, is divided into sectors. Like here we talk about, again, the space around the Earth. It's divided into sectors, and they are 12. And this is what we call the zodiac signs. So when you hear Aries, Taurus, Capricorn, Aquarius, whatever sign, keep in mind that this represents a concrete space, like a concrete sector, area, like literally it's an area around us in the space. After that, we have the 10 planets from our solar system. Here, for the more critical minds, just little clarification. In astrology, we know that the sun and the moon are not real planets, but for simplicity, we also call them like this. So whenever I say 10 planets, I include also the sun and the moon, the two luminaries. And again, for simplicity, we call them planets as well. So they are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. 10 planets from our solar system. And those planets, they also are moving, each with different speed, which also matters. We will talk about this at a certain point. But the point is that they are all moving, following their own path. And from our perspective here on the Earth, we are observing where are those planets positioned in which of those sectors that we call zodiac signs. And the expression we have in astrology, we say this planet is in this sign. So let's say the moon right now is in Gemini. A moment ago I showed you the sun is in Libra. Usually when, the most popular thing is people know their sun position. My sun is in Libra or my sun is in Capricorn, and people call it like I'm a Capricorn or I'm a Libra. But actually what stays behind this is that their sun, when they were born, when the person was born, the sun has been positioned in this particular sector of the zodiac that we call, let's say, Libra or Capricorn. So we have 12 signs. They are concrete sectors in the space around us, around the Earth, how we see it from our perspective. And they take equal space from the circle. So 360 degrees is the circle, and each sign takes 30 degrees. And we also explore where exactly in a particular sign is the planet from our perspective. So, if it's in the beginning or the middle or the end, but we use like the specific degree positions. And that's why we say, okay, right now the sun is on the first degree of Libra, or the moon was, I think, now 5-6 degrees in Gemini, somewhere in the beginning. So it's literally in which of those degrees. So 360 degrees space around us, 12 sectors, and each of them has 30 degrees. What is the difference between the signs and the planets? From one side, this is basic knowledge. From another side, it's not that well known, I think, sometimes. The signs, they bring the potential, like different types of energies and their manifestation, like the potential for their manifestation. The planets are like the acting forces. So sorry, I will just switch my phone. Each planet is like a concrete force. It has specific qualities. So we will talk again about all of those things in details. My goal for today is just to show you like the main things to understand the logic. But each planet, each of those 10 planets, has her own role, things that this planet is related to. For example, let's say Venus is the planet related to love, to our ability to connect to others in relationships, the deeper level of our feelings related to our personal values, our personal desires, the ability to have joy, to experience joy, aesthetical feelings, beauty, harmony. Again, we will talk about those things in more details, but just so you know, each planet has her own role. Mars, for example, is the planet related to our personal will. This is the planet which takes action, not the planet which makes the decision, not the planet which is related to what I like to do. This is decided by other planets, Venus and the Sun. But Mars is our ability. So once I want something or I have decided on something, to take action on my own. And so on. And there are other things. There could be also aggression there. There could be like different levels. But the point is that each of the 10 planets is like a real force. So through the planets, we can do something. If there is just a sign, it's a potential energy. But in order for this energy to be kind of like accessible to us and for us to be able to really use it, there needs to be a planet in this sign. So that's why, for example, when, let's say, in your chart, the moon is in Gemini, this energy is kind of like relevant to you. If there are no planets in Gemini, then this energy is not directly relevant to you. Indirectly, it's always. We'll get to this part. But this is very, very important to understand that the signs are just the potential of something, and their energy is it's very deep from one side. The word is not complicated. I'm searching for a better word. Complex. They are more complex. Like those are like, very big, like collective archetypes of energy. And in order to kind of like have access to this energy, it happens through planets. So as you can understand, we have 10 planets and 12 signs, so it's literally impossible to have all of them. And we explore which ones dominate, which are stronger, and so on. But the planets are those like acting forces. When someone is born, here I want to explain more about. No, we'll get to this later. Before that. So each planet is in a particular sign, exact degree. We see this from our perspective here. After that, those planets can interact with each other or not. They can communicate or not. They can communicate in a harmonious way or disharmonious, and there could be different nuances there. This is what we call aspects. You have maybe heard this. If you haven't, then you will hear the aspects in astrology. That's like a whole important category of information that we need to explore always. Aspects, the word comes from, it was, I think, Latin or Greek, and translation means to see. So it's like when we say that two planets are connected with an aspect, it's like those planets see each other. That was like the initial meaning that astrologers have had. What defines if we have an aspect between two planets or we don't? This is defined by the distance measured in degrees between two planets. And we have different categories of aspects. Just for, to get in touch with this, I will tell you about the groups of the aspects, but we will talk about this whole thing in many details. We can divide the aspects into major and minor aspects. Overall, the major aspects, they play a more significant role. They are considered to be more important, but also what's specific about them is that we are consciously more aware of them. Consciously, we recognize them. Another group of aspects are the minor aspects. They are not so obvious, and it's not so easy to catch them consciously. Again, more about this in the future. So we have major, minor aspects. Another way to also categorize them is into groups. We have challenging aspects and harmonious aspects. I'm very careful with words like good and bad, and I highly recommend you to try to avoid those words in astrology when you are interpreting, because first of all, the main task for astrology is to describe and explore, not to evaluate. When we say this is good or this is bad, we are evaluating. And the honest truth is that we don't know. Because from certain perspective, something may seem good, then it may turn out that it's not that good. So from this really high perspective, you may also say that eventually everything is good. So there was one funny story, well, kind of funny. And it was a long one, but just the essence of it. I think there was some kind of, let's say, a king or something like this. And, there were many adventures, what happens to him and so on. And I didn't remember, there was some kind of accident and his finger, I think the pinky one, was cut in the accident. So, and someone was like, oh, that's so bad. Oh, that's awful. And eventually, after a while, those people were attacked by cannibals. And everybody was attacked, but when they saw that this one doesn't have a pinky, they said, oh, no, this must be bad luck. We won't eat this one. So, you never know what's really good or bad. Something that at the moment may seem bad, very often after a while, it turns out that it was a blessing. So I highly recommend you to avoid those labels, good and bad. And also in astrology, we are tempted. I know we are tempted to do this, but it would be more accurate to say harmonious and disharmonious, challenging and supportive. So that applies also to the aspects. So challenging and harmonious aspects. Again, when we get to this and when we talk about the specific type of aspects, you see also that those aspects between planets, which are considered to be the bad ones, difficult, challenging, those are exactly the aspects that also bring the strength And actually, people with more significant achievements have more challenging aspects. So, and also, I have seen this many times, how in charts which seem to be very easy, there is no tension in the chart, and there are too many harmonious aspects. Very often, those people struggle with finding motivation, and this can also be a real problem. And sometimes they can literally be lazy because nothing is pushing them to do something, to develop, to grow, to try things. So we really can't know from this perspective eventually, like at the end, like what is good and what is bad. I mean, this is a really, really deep philosophical topic. So it's better to try to always describe things rather than to try to evaluate them. So you will see this with the aspects, how things can really work in different ways. So about the aspects, as I said, we have major, minor aspects. We have the group of the challenging, the harmonious aspects. All kinds of schools of astrology are using those. This is nothing special. But there are some groups of aspects which are not popular and they work absolutely, and we are gonna explore them and use them, and you will see how important they are. This is about the group of, we call them karmic aspects. Like, honestly, in my opinion, that's not the best way to describe it, because what is karma? That's again a deep question. And from certain perspective, everything in astrology is karmic. If you consider karma as, the past and, what we have done, how we have done it, our whole chart reflects this, not just the karmic aspects. But that's how people have called them. So we are going to use this term. Another way to call those aspects is purple aspects, because the software is showing them in a purple color. So we have karmic, we have creative aspects, also very interesting group of aspects. So karmic, creative, major, minor. I think the total number was 16 specific aspects. We will talk about them in details. But the point is that those aspects, they allow exchange of energy, and they're very important for us. It's like the planets can group and work together when they are connected with aspects. And one thing we do is we can explore each aspect between, any two planets. For example, let's say today we actually have such an aspect trine between the moon and the sun. So this is a specific aspect. But what's even more interesting before we get to this is to explore the whole structure. Actually, let's switch to the chart. It will be better if you see it. So again, I will go back from the beginning. So imagine that we are here in the middle. Okay, here. Where is my mouse? So here is the Earth. And from here, if we look around, this is the sky with the 30 degree sectors, the 12 sectors, the 12 signs. And each of those are the planets. And one more here. So those are the planets. Each of them is positioned in one of the signs, different signs, and also a specific degree position. In astrology, by the way, the motion is counterclockwise. So we look from here, counterclockwise. So those sectors here with the different colors, here, those are the signs, the 12 signs. And For example, here, this is the sign of Taurus. Here is the beginning of Taurus, counterclockwise. And for example, this planet, this is Uranus, is the 28th degree of Taurus. So almost at the end of the sign. Here is the end of the sign. So beginning, the end. I will prepare tables for you. So you have each of those symbols. So of course, you are not supposed to know this already. I will share with you all of this, like each of those signs and symbols. We also call them glyphs in astrology. So each of those planets is in a particular sign. Also, again, physically try to imagine this. Again, the Earth is here in the middle. This upper part, this upper hemisphere, is above the horizon. So theoretically, this is what we can see if we are able to see so far, and let's say during the day and all of that. This is this sector, the upper half of the hemisphere of the circle, is what we can see. This part, the lower part, is under the horizon. So it's like, for example, this is on the other side of the Earth. So here I will see this area if I look above, like right above my head. In order to see this is like under my feet. So if I imagine, that we make a line through the Earth, and at the bottom in the space will be this area. So literally, the Earth and all of those sectors are surrounding the Earth. And where are those planets positioned? In which sign? After that, those lines, basically, those are the aspects. For example, let me try to find. The thing is that now the planets are very well connected. So, okay, for example, this one and this one. This is Venus, this is Jupiter. There is no line between them. Okay, you can just see like no line that connects them. For example, Venus is connected to Uranus. Venus is connected to Neptune, to Pluto. So some of the planets are connected, others are not. Again, this is defined by the distance between them measured in degrees. And particular distances are considered to be aspects. In other words, there is interaction when the planets are, let's say, 60 degrees apart or 90 degrees apart. They interact. There is an aspect. If the planets are, let's say, 67 degrees apart, there is no aspect. There is no such aspect. Here, just to put this also in our field, we also use the term orbis. The orbis is, you can imagine this as a range, because each aspect has like a concrete value. For example, 60-degree aspect, this is called also sextile. So concrete measure, concrete value. But we also have like a little bit on and off out of this. For example, up to 65 degrees also counts as a sextile, or 55, so plus minus 5 degrees also will count as a sextile. You don't have to remember those details. Try to focus on the logic, just to understand that between every pair, each pair of planets, there is always some kind of distance between them measured in degrees. And sometimes this is like a live energy, like it means that the planets are interacting. There is an aspect, sometimes there isn't. And it depends on the exact distance between them. And we also have this term orbis, which means plus minus the concrete value of the aspect. Those orbises, they are different for the different aspects. Again, I will show you all of those tables when we get to this. But now just we need the logic. Two planets can support each other, or they can be in conflict, or they can create challenges. It depends on, first of all, the nature of the planets which are connected. So certain planets have, let's say, similar energy or friendly, they are friendly to each other. Then those aspects are kind of like, we can say, easier for us, or it's like, for those planets, it's more natural to work together. For example, let's say Mars and the Sun. They are two masculine fire planets related to doing more external things, more to our individuality. So they are friendly planets for each other. And there are other planets, for example, the Sun and Saturn, which are completely different. The Sun is about my individuality, myself, my desires, and so on. Saturn is about the social stuff. It's about the rules. It's about stability. It's about what's important for the system or the collective. And those two planets are not friends with each other because they are very different. So this is the first thing that we define when we get to exploring those aspects. Are the planets friends with each other or not? And then we look at the specific type of aspect. Is this, let's say, a 60-degree aspect or a 90-degree or 108 degrees or 40 degrees or whatever? So first, how the planets can interact with each other. Then we check what is the specific aspects. And I gotta tell you that this is something that I would say many people don't understand. They look straight into the specific aspect without considering first that, when you have planets which are generally friends with each other, even the more difficult types of aspects are not so problematic. Because those planets, they want kind of similar things, or, and even if there is a conflict between them, it's easier to resolve it. The opposite is also true. If you have two planets which are, sometimes we call it enemies, maybe it's not the best expression, but anyway, which are, have related to different things. Even the most harmonious aspects between them are not that simple, because you need to kind of like make two planets which want like completely opposite things in general. They're supposed to team up and work in the same direction. And that's not that simple. So it gets very interesting when we dive into this. But we are not just exploring each of those aspects individually. There is something more interesting before that. And it's about exploring the whole structure of the chart. This is something, by the way, which we will focus more on during this training. Because I'm noticing that we just need more practice. So for those of you who have been with me already and know, some of the stuff we have worked on, just to keep in mind that in this training, we will focus more on this part because it's essential. And we just need more practice with it because it's not simple. In other words, not just to look at one concrete connection between two planets, but to look at like the teams of 3, 4, sometimes 5 planets that work together. I'm thinking about examples, but no, we won't get to examples because I don't want to bring too much overwhelm. I don't want to overwhelm you. But For example, here, this planet, the sun, is connected to Uranus, is connected to this one, this is Neptune, and Pluto. And this one is a specific, we call those aspect configurations. So this is when we have not just one aspect between two planets somewhere on their own, but we have a connection between different aspects and planets all together. And there are specific aspect configurations. Again, we will talk about the categories there, how to explore them. It's a very, very interesting topic. And just to add something here, this is one of the main ways through which we explore the level of development of someone's chart, the level of development. There isn't an algorithm here, so I can't tell you, oh, this, and this. If you find it, then okay, it means that the person is highly evolved, or this. No, they are very low level. It's not that simple. I wish it was. It's not that simple. But just keep it in mind that as a focus from those aspect configurations, you can understand really how someone has developed already. Because any aspect configuration allows at least 3 planets, sometimes there are more, to work together. And that's what allows us to achieve concrete results in our life. Sometimes we may have planets. Let me see, is there... Mars was recently like this. It's not like this right now. Let me just move the chart. To demonstrate. Okay, yes, here. So this is Mars. You can see that there are 3 aspects, 3 lines. It's not important what they mean right now or which are the planets, but they are 3. Saturn, Neptune, and the Moon, and they are all different. But, so even though this Mars has 3 aspects, which is not little, this Mars is not part of a closed configuration. And those are what we call line aspects. So yes, it's connected with 3 other planets, but they don't connect in one, like a structure or a concrete figure. For example, if we look, let's say this one, the Sun with Pluto, with this one, and with Uranus, this is like literally like a triangle configuration. So this is what we call a closed configuration. It could be triangle, it could be rectangular, there could be strange shapes. But the point is that you need to have at least 3 planets, or sometimes more, and they need to be connected like this. So it turns like a whole shape. Again, sometimes it could be a strange shape, sometimes it's like some form of triangle or rectangular, or there are like mixed ones. We explore those and they are very important for us. But sometimes, like Mars here, it just has aspects with 3 other planets, but they are not part of a structure. That's what we call line aspects. When we have such a situation, for this energy, it's more difficult to kind of like be used in kind of like to bring something more concrete. Like in simple words, it's more difficult to achieve results related to this particular planet. So overall, it's considered to be a disadvantage. And the opposite, when the more structures we have, so the more figures of any kind, the more it shows that there is integration. It's like, okay, more of those planets are able to communicate with each other. Yes, some of those communications might be difficult, problematic, there could be conflicts. That's also important for us. But what's even more important is that there is some kind of communication. When there is communication, those planets can team up and work in one direction. This is the main way in which we can define someone's potential from those structures, those aspect configurations. And the more the planets are, we call this integrated together, the more this is an indication of a certain level of development. So the lines are the aspects. Again, for now, you don't need to remember each of those. Actually, we haven't even discussed all of them. We will do this not that soon, but it's actually, no, soon we will talk about the general groups, but the details about each aspect and combinations will be more in the future. Okay. Now we are making the next step. Just to balance, because it's like moving to another level. Those things that we discussed, so the 10 planets, which are always somewhere in the sky around us, moving each with different speed. At any point, each planet has a specific sign and degree position, which changes with time, with different speed again. And at certain point, certain planets are communicating with each other with an aspect. After a while, because of their speed, they don't have an aspect. So for a while, there is no connection. After that, at certain point, there is another aspect and so on. So this is very dynamic. It changes with time. But all of this will be the same for everyone born around the whole Earth at a particular time. In other words, right now, for me, it's 9 p.m. here in Sofia. If someone is born right now, and this is how their chart will look like. Okay, so each planet is in a concrete sign. We have the aspects, concrete structures, and so on. Someone was saying us hi from New Jersey. For you right now, it should be, I guess, 3, is it? 9 minus 2 p.m. For you, it's 2 p.m. The planets and their sign positions and their aspects will be the same from your perspective as well at this moment. So this doesn't change based on our exact position on the Earth. It's something more universal. So in Bulgaria, in New Jersey, in Australia, in China, at one concrete moment, I mean the same moment, those indications will be still the same. So if someone is born in Sofia right now, their moon will be in 5 degrees Gemini. If they are born right now in New Jersey, their moon will also be in 5 degrees in Gemini. This doesn't change. This is what we call cosmogram. So the 10 planets, their positions in whatever sign they are with the degree, and the aspects that we have with the structures, the aspect configurations. The cosmogram is different from the natal chart and the horoscope. Natal chart and horoscope is the same thing. Those are synonyms. The cosmogram is another thing. The cosmogram, the natal chart is something more specific. The cosmogram is, as we said, this thing that applies to everyone around the whole earth. Doesn't matter if it's Sofia or New Jersey. We will explore those cosmograms because they define, you can say, like the cosmic potential. So this is generally our potential. It's defined by the planets, their sign position, the aspects, like there are other nuances. For example, the speed of the planets, again, we'll talk about those nuances and all of that. But this defines the potential, the overall potential, the cosmogram. Now, we need to make a big step to move to another level. What is this thing that is defined by the concrete location? So something that will change the chart in Sofia or New Jersey or Melbourne or wherever. It will be different. This is what we call houses. So we have 12 signs. Again, I know I'm repeating myself many times, but I have seen this, that especially when we work online, when we study online, something needs to be repeated many times because our attention is not that strong for many of us. And also, when there is a lot of information, some of us need more repetition. So I know I'm repeating myself, but that's intentional. And if you are from those that catch things from the first time, I'm sorry, you will have to listen to those things. But it's important, that's why I return to this. So we have the 12 signs. Those are the sectors in the space around the Earth, divided into 12 equal parts. Each of them is called a sign with a concrete name. Those are the popular ones that I think all of us have heard: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on, the 12 signs. But then the next layer is so it comes from the spinning of the Earth. So you know that physically the sun is not moving around us, and even though that's how it looks like, when we stay here on the Earth and we look at the sky and we observe it, even with the sun, we can always see it, how it's moving around the sky. So is the moon. So are the other planets at the same time. But we know that this is just our perspective from the Earth. What's really happening is that the Earth is spinning, and that's why the planets, the sun, the moon, and all of them change their position. But from here, we have also the 12 different sectors that we call houses. So again, we are here in the middle of the circle. We are looking around ourselves, the whole sky that we can see, the lower part under the horizon that technically we can never see, but it's still there underneath us. And if you look at 9 o'clock, like physically around you, where you are, this is here, the position where the sun is rising. So if you have access, like, because it depends on the location, but if there aren't high mountains around you, if you can see the whole horizon, at morning when the sun is rising, where you see the the sun rising, it's this position here on at 9 o'clock from the Earth. And because the Earth is spinning, it looks like with time, those sectors are changing. So the signs are shifting. I will demonstrate this with dynamics so you can see. So this is the chart again for right now, 9 p.m. Doesn't matter what time. So I will change now the time with 1 hour step. And just look how everything changes. So this is how it will look like in 1 hour. Then in 1 hour. You can look here at the ascendant. So this is what we call the rising of the sun, or also the ascendant point. Look what happens when I move it. In 1 hour, it's already another sign. In 1 hour, again, closer to the middle of the sign. So do you see how those planets, like they are in the same signs, or they move but slowly, not drastically, only the moon is faster. Again, more about that soon, but they are in the same sign, or they move but with their speed, which is not that high for most of them. But how we see them changes, like their position. Those sectors here, so the signs, again, the signs are here, those tinier sectors, areas, which are colored here in the software. Those are the signs. Those areas here, this one, this one here, those are the houses. And in other words, this is like, was this word in English, kaleidoscope? Let me check it. I don't know if that was the right way to say it. I will check. Okay, yes, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly, but I hope you understand me. It's like, this whole thing is moving, and it will take a different position. So, for example, at this moment, whenever it is, this planet, again, this is our Mars that we are looking at. It's in Cancer, the sign of Cancer, which will not change for a long time. But the house position will be different, like it's much more time sensitive. With, see, 1 hour step, how it changes. So basically what happens is that within 24 hours, the one planet will get through the whole circle, the 12 houses. The sign position most likely won't change, except, if it's at the edge of the sign. But let's say the sun just moved today in Libra, and it will stay there for 1 month. So a whole month, the sun will be in the sign of Libra in the sky. But during the day, at each moment during the day or the night, we will see it from our perspective in a different area. And within 24 hours, it will cross the whole circle from our perspective on the Earth, because because the Earth is spinning, again, it's an illusion. The illusion is that the whole sky is moving around us. Again, I'm making those things because, especially if you're more visual, it will help. So we are in the middle. The Earth is here. We are looking at the sky. We can look at the horizon or wherever, and in any direction. And the space around us is not that dynamic as it looks from our perspective. So each planet is in a concrete sector, so a zodiac sign, concrete degree. And this doesn't change so fast. But from our perspective here, it's like literally, it looks like the whole sky is moving. So this process of the moving of the sky, it happens because the Earth is spinning. And from there, we define the house positions of the planets. So in other words, each planet that we explore, the 10 planets from the solar system, always has assigned position. We call this the sun right now is in Libra. The sun right now is in the 1st degree of Libra, or wherever, the 10th degree. It's different always. Plus, we also explore the house positions. So the sun could be in Libra, but within 24 hours, it will cross the 12 houses. So on average, let's say 2 hours in one house. It's different, but for simplicity, let's take it like this. Here, what is the meaning of this? The house positions, no, let's go back to the signs. So we already said the planets are like the acting forces. For example, the sun is my ability to express myself, to follow my own direction. It's the essence of who I am and so on. Mars is my willpower to be able not only to make the decision and to want something, but to take action in this direction. Those are different things. So each planet is like an acting force to do something. It has a concrete roles, it has qualities, it has like a specific description. The planets in different sign positions are expressing in a different way. So if the planets are the acting forces, the sign position of the planet will define the quality of this expression. In other words, in what way this planet will express. Simple example. Again, this Mars that today seems to be our main character we are exploring. Mars is always the planet of my willpower. Okay, how capable I am to be brave, to take action independently, to take risks, and so on. That's typically related to Mars. But Mars in the 12 signs will do this in a different way. So Mars will always be related to those things. Mars will always be related to my braveness or my courage or how I take action or my ability to take action. But in what way I will do this is defined by the signs. For example, right now, Mars is in Cancer. This is a weak position for Mars. Mars is not strong there. So it's still relevant to my willpower, how capable I am to take action independently. But the sign is like coloring this. In what way? When it's in Cancer, it's indecisive way. So it's still about, my willpower, but how I express my willpower. I'm not decisive when it comes to this. I could be affected by or influenced by my emotions, by my moods. I could be inconsistent, or I could be influenced. Very often it's related to influence from the environment, could be the family and so on. So the expression of my willpower, Mars, happens in a Cancer way, which means moody, indecisive, soft, maybe careful not to hurt anyone, not to, get confrontational with people. So the way, it's like, it's a little bit a cliche, but I will share this metaphor with you. The planets are the actors. So if we take this metaphor as we have a play, okay? So in the play, we have actors. So the actors are the planets, the acting forces. Their sign positions are like their roles. What are they playing? How are they expressing themselves? The aspects between them are more like scenarios they are playing with each other, like, different parts of the play scenarios. And finally, the house positions, it's about the concrete implementation of this energy. So, for example, this Mars that is in Cancer, which could be indecisive or careful not to trigger conflicts, or maybe sometimes lazy, difficult to start doing things. Like, that's how this willpower works when it's in Cancer. Now I'm talking about very, very general, interpretations. Where is this, in which area it will be expressed? It will be defined by the house position. So, for example, if this Mars is in my house of career, then I will do this mostly in my career. If this is, let's say, in the house related to my children, then, or creativity and so on, then it will kind of like be manifest mostly there. So the house positions or the houses are like the scenes in the play, like the concrete places. What's important here, again, today we are really trying to focus on the big picture. So it's not important to remember about Mars specifically in Cancer, or what is even Mars related to. We want only the logic and the big picture. And what is like the biggest, most important perspective to keep in mind here? It's one layer to explore the cosmogram. In other words, this is the potential that comes from the space, let's call it this way. And when I say no, that's not the best way to describe it, because it may sound like it's a lottery and it comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't. But my point is that the cosmogram, the planets, their position in the signs, their aspects with each other, those aspect configurations, this is the overall potential. But from our perspective on the Earth, this potential might be in the kind of like the right place where it can flourish, it can develop, or it might be blocked, or it might be in the wrong environment, or it may not fit. In other words, and if you think about from like a real life perspective, you will see that that's how it works. Sometimes for some of us, or for other people or whatever, there could be certain potential which is not easy to express. Certain potential remains unexpressed or could be blocked. And this is defined by the house positions. In other words, there could be certain house positions that may support the expression of this initial potential, and others which can make it more complicated. The important piece here is that the house positions are the closest ones to the Earth, because they are literally defined by the spinning of the Earth. The other things, they are not defined by the Earth. Like, in which sector, in which zodiac the planet will be, this is not defined by the motion of the Earth. But by the motion, the spinning of the Earth, is defined the house position, where we see, in which sector. And this is different for each location. So if someone at this moment is born in Bulgaria, their Mars will be in 9th house, which is, let's say, related to education, higher goals, something about the future, long-term travels or long-distance travel, and so on. So a concrete life area. But if this person, and I will literally do it right now, I will change the location. Let's see. If I will be able, no, I will do it differently. Okay, here I have LA, so it won't be New Jersey, it will be LA. But I need to correct the time, sorry. So in LA, 10 hours before, so 21. If I'm not wrong, it should be 11 a.m. right now in LA. It's not. Okay, I'm not doing it correctly because it should be very different. But even in this case, it's in another house. It's in 8th house. It's somewhere else. But I don't want to waste too much time now to figure out the coordinates. In another location, it will be in 8th house. This same Mars at this moment. And this is very important for us. So the house position is again this final layer that's defined by the exact location on the Earth. And this shows how this initial potential can kind of like unfold and develop on the Earth and in which area. So that's again like really the big picture. Okay, so the main terms, the 12 signs, the 10 planets, different aspects, so different connections we may have between the planets, and finally also house positions, which define how this overall potential can find its way to the Earth. In which areas of our life is it in an accentuated way, or is it more hidden way? Is it blocked? Does it kind of like resonate, or it's kind of like not working so well together? So this comes from the house positions. I have changed that. Yeah, it's possible that, yeah, I didn't do the details correctly. Anyway, I don't want to waste time now to demonstrate. Okay, other important terms we need to consider that those 12 signs that we know, they are, I think, the most popular in astrology. They can be categorized in different ways. In other words, they can be put into different groups, which kind of like share similar qualities. And we will talk about this soon because that's extremely foundational. And here we use terms like elements and modalities. So we have 4 elements and 3 modalities. So again, those 12 signs are grouped in 4. Actually, they are grouped in 3, and we have 4 categories, 4 groups, 4 elements, and also from another perspective, 3 modalities. Why 4 and 3? We will talk about this next time when we talk about numerology and what's the meaning of this, because there is a meaning. But again, we have 4 elements. They are very popular. fire, earth, air, and water. So again, each of those elements includes 3 signs. For example, the fire element includes Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You don't have to remember this right now. We will talk about it separately. But just so you know that this is a big part of our analysis, to understand the elements. We have another way to categorize them. Those are the 3 modalities. And here we have, again, we have 4 signs that belong to one modality. For example, the cardinal modality includes Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So there is a deep meaning here because each group brings specific qualities, like signs that belong to the same, let's say, element or to the same modality share something. They have something in common. And this is very important for us. So we will talk about this, just so you know that this is also like a big part of astrology. And you might hear someone saying, oh, I have so much water, or I'm a water person. For example, I really am a water person. What does it mean when someone says I'm a water person or I have so much water in my chart? It means that there are many planets positioned in signs which belong to the element of the water or the category of the water. So when it comes to the elements, they can never be equally presented because we have 10 planets and 4 elements. So if it's possible for them to be equal, we need to have 2.5 planets in each element, which obviously is impossible. So the closest to the balanced situation is to have 2, 2, 3, 3. That's the closest. But again, it's never equal. So we explore this. Which element dominates in the chart? And what's even more interesting also, because there is usually one primary, but also one secondary. For example, I'm a water person, but I also have earth energy. So those combinations are extremely interesting. And this is also something that I think many people ignore. This can already tell you so much about the person, about the combination. For example, it's one thing to be like me with dominant water and secondary earth energy. And it's another thing if this dominant water has a secondary air element. It will be a different kind of like mixture. So we will discuss this in details. First of all, we will start with each of the 4 elements. What are their main characteristics, their main qualities. But I would say the more interesting part after that is also to see how they combine. So what does it mean if I have dominant water, but also, let's say, strong fire? Or what does it mean if I have dominant air, but also the earth energy is quite strong? So this comes at the beginning of the training. But again, it's so foundational because it really helps you to feel the energy. And we will explore this even from trying to compare this to the physical reality, because those elements, fire, earth, water, and air, obviously we have all of this around us, and the qualities you observe, like what are the specific qualities of the fire, what are the specific physical qualities of the air, those are relevant. They help us to understand also. So we will discuss this. It's very interesting. And we will do the same with the modalities also. So, do you have any questions about the bigger picture. So again, I want to introduce you to like the main terms, what we are using. Again, the point is not to remember specific details. We will have enough time for the details, but kind of like as a starting point, do you understand this? And I will share a funny story. It's a little embarrassing, but I will share it. At the very beginning, when I was starting with astrology, honestly, I just didn't understand that, this logic. Nobody explained it. And it took me a while to understand that it's literally something that happens in the sky. And also it has like a natural motion. Because here is what happened. There was a hesitation about my time of birth. It was 10 minutes earlier or later, like not significant time, either 5:20 or 5:30. And my mother said one, my grandmother said the other. And I was, calculating 5:30. And I am trying to understand, okay, my moon is in Pisces, my Venus is in Scorpio, I don't understand what that means, but I'm trying to, put things together. Then comes my grandmother at some point and she says, oh no, I'm sure you were born at 5:20, not 5:30. I'm like, okay, then my chart will be completely different. And I'm calculating the chart for 5:20, so 10 minutes earlier. And I look at the chart and I see, okay, the planets are still there. So again, this Venus is in Scorpio and this moon is in Pisces. And I'm like, how does this happen? Like, honestly, again, it's ridiculous, but in my understanding, it was a bit like almost like, in the casino, those, how do you call those machines that, okay, for 5:30, you get this combination, and 10 minutes later, or let's say 10 hours later, if you play it, it's like a brand new combination. Like I just, and that was the time when I understood, okay, so the planets are not moving without any logic. Like, in my mind, which is another thing, but it was many years ago. So I won't go back to, what was the deeper meaning for me, like in my level understanding. Like, but it was like, I didn't get that there is logic and there is like a natural motion of the planets. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate today, that all of this is following like a very clear logic. From the Earth, we observe, and the planets are moving. And again, they follow this logic with their own rhythm. Things are not like, okay, at this moment we have this, and 10 minutes later, it's like, okay, completely other thing. So, do you have any questions about this? Can a planet be weak in a specific house? Yes. We will talk about this. So just like with the signs, for each planet, there are different signs which are strong or weak. For the houses, the same. There are certain houses which are overall weak for every planet, except for some exceptions. And there are overall houses that are overall making the planet more accentuated. We will discuss this again more. With the cosmogram, do you mean like chart of the moment? No, the cosmogram is exactly the same as the natal chart. You just exclude the houses. There are no houses. So it's exactly the same, but without any houses. Let me know if there's anything else, or there's something else which I don't understand in your question. Let me see if I can. I'm searching if I had an option to have only a cosmogram, but not sure. But basically, the cosmogram is, yeah, exactly the same thing. There are just no houses there. It's like planets in signs, aspects, like everything else, you just don't have houses. And this is what shows you the overall potential. Then when you add houses and you position those planets also in the specific houses, you get this earth layer. So something might be more accentuated, something might be more blocked. Is it clear now? Okay, good. All right, so I want to add just a few final thoughts about this. Keep in mind that we always need to consider like the indications altogether. In other words, we need to understand in what kind of context we have certain indication. And here is one general rule, not just principle, I would say like a rule in astrology. The more indications you have which show kind of like the same thing or similar thing, the more sure you can be that it will be really expressed. If you have one indication that shows something, it could be a planet in a sign, a planet aspect, something like one indication. It's just a possibility for something. If you have two indications that show kind of like the similar thing or the same thing, then it's already like, let's say, a trend, or it's already something that is, it's not just a nuance, it's already something significant. But if you have three or more indications, then you can be sure that this is really like a theme. This is really like not something optional, it's not a maybe, but it's like a really significant theme. So just putting this here because that's essential, and that's how you can find the relevant information, and you can really understand the major things from the secondary and how not to get lost in everything. So you need to understand the context of the chart. It's like figuring out like I would say the landscape or the landscape, or, what is the environment around us. And then each indication that you explore separately you need to see how does that fit in the overall environment. Is it kind of like in harmony, or is it something completely different? Because it will change your interpretation and understanding of each individual indication. So this is something that we will start with. First of all, we will talk about those big picture things. from next time, and after that we'll get to this. So don't worry, you're not supposed to know what that means specifically, but just to have it as a mindset, as a perspective, that we need to evaluate this overall environment of the chart. It's like the map of someone's, it's about their life, it's about their character, it's about their qualities. And then each individual indication that you focus on will have a different meaning by checking, does this resonate in a harmonious way with the overall environment, the chart, or no, it's completely different and it could be in conflict. Just a very simple life example from real life. Changes. So let's see that overall, this is a sensitive topic because we don't always understand our real perspective, but let's say from the more popular perspective, there is about to be some kind of significant change in someone's life. For someone, if they like stability, they like everything to be predictable, they like everything to be organized and in control, for them, this could be bad news. For them, this may not be something nice, you know, to have changes. And for someone else who is like adventurous, who wants new things, needs constant stimulation, then changes would be great. Yes, please give me more of that. So the same thing, like one concrete thing, let's say change, will be processed in a different way by the person depending on this overall environment or character. And that's something that we will start with at the beginning. We will start about those bigger things, like the bigger indications. Nicolette, I gave the example even before I saw your question. So we are already connecting through the field, which is great. Perfect. So, yeah, this is something, and this understanding and to have it as a mindset will really change the quality of your work. I think that most astrologers get lost on this level, that they jump straight into one concrete indication. Let's say they start interpreting, for example, Mars trining Saturn, and they go into this, and okay, then someone who is organized, hardworking, they like to, you know, they may need more time, they need to know why they're doing something in advance, so on. So they go into interpreting the concrete aspect. But this combination will mean one thing if, let's say, this is a fiery person. So they need more dynamic overall. For them, this would be more like something that holds them back. And the opposite, if someone has, let's say, dominant water energy, such Saturn-Mars aspect can bring more fears also. Like, because water energy generally is more sensitive, more, you know, we will talk about all of those things, but I want to show you that each aspect will kind of like fit in a different way the overall environment of the chart. I didn't explain it very well, but I think you got what I mean. I hope, at least. So the bigger picture, always, always important for us. So let's pause here. The most important from today is to really understand that we work with real things, like those planetary positions, the signs, they are like real things that exist in our physical reality. We look from our perspective from the Earth, which is not the objective one, but doesn't matter because that's how we see it. So that's how we process the energy. And yeah, there are many other things that we will add, but we always need to keep this focus that we need to be able, this will be the last thing for today, I promise. In our work, we will learn this skill, we will practice this to be able to zoom in and out. It's very important for the astrologer. To zoom in means to focus, okay, on this Mars. What is this Mars? In which sign? In which house? What are the aspects? What is the speed? And other things like specifically for this Mars. This is like to focus on one indication. To zoom out means, okay, to see the context. Let's say, what is the overall configuration of the chart? What are the elements which are expressed in this chart? Overall configurations. So to see the bigger picture, like this Mars, where is this? Like, in other words, like what surrounds this Mars? Because it will also define how Mars can express, and not just for Mars, for any planet, any indication. So it's very important for the good astrologer to be able to zoom in and focus on concrete details in the chart, and to zoom out and to be able to see the whole picture and how the little things fit there. This comes only with practice. So you're not supposed to know how to do this. So don't be stressed, overwhelmed. We will get to this. And it's very interesting, to kind of like change your perspective closer than from distance, then it's very magical. So we are finishing for today. Thank you very much for joining me. The recording will be uploaded soon. Those of you who have already signed up for the training, you will receive your login details during the week, so look for an email. The others, if you want to join us, you can also find the links in our Telegram group, or I will put also the link on YouTube under the description. And if you have any questions, you are also welcome to ask me and text me. And yeah, I will let you know about our next meeting very soon. It should be next Sunday, hopefully 11 a.m. US Eastern, but I will confirm again. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Yeah, thank you too for being here. And we are continuing our journey. Enjoy your week. And again, happy equinox to everyone. Don't forget to look into your life and find this thing that you would like to balance right now. It's just a wonderful window of opportunity. So see you soon.